Yeah, it kind of makes me think of the topic of like your financial comfort zone and how it's created from your upbringing and your early sets of money beliefs. Like everybody's heard that stat by now that your money beliefs start to form by the age of 7, well, have formed by the age of 7. And then you just kind of feed into that like existing narrative with everything you experience. And I think that particularly in a talking about money sense, breaking that financial comfort zone is the best way. One of the best ways to do that is by talking about money with other people from different walks of life, because you can like forgive yourself for mistakes that you've made, or see where maybe like you were really in a shit position and it wasn't your fault.
The Get Rich Slow Club podcast is a collaboration between Tash Etchman from Tash Invest and Ana Christina from Perla. The Get Rich Slow Club acknowledges the traditional custodians of the land we record on. From coast to coast, across land, waters, and communities, we pay our respects to elders past, present, and emerging. Any advice is general and does not consider your financial situation, needs, or objectives, so consider whether it's appropriate for you.
Welcome to the Get Rich Slow Club podcast,
where we take you from beginner to confident investor.
where we can teach you everything you need to know about investing.
So come get rich slow with us.
Hello everybody, welcome back to episode 3 in our mini-series celebrating the launch of the upcoming Money Sleepover Retreat that Tash and I are hosting. I'm here again with Tash.
Yay, exciting. We've spoken a lot about it on the other 2 episodes, so go have a listen to those if you haven't already. But today's episode.
Today, I want to talk about connection and the role of connection in building financial confidence, because I think a big benefit of the retreat, and like a big reason that we were so like, yeah, this is a really good idea, is because you're going to have that space to build really meaningful connections. You know, there's a maximum of 19 people plus us that are going to be there, with 6 spots left. So if you'd like to snap those up, please do. The link is in the show notes. But it's going to be a really small group. So, you know, if even the introverts are going to be, I'll be there. I'll be there introverting. And it's just like one of those really nice environments, I think, to have conversations, not literally about like what's in your savings account, although we can talk about that too if you want, but about some of the bigger topics that we've talked about in the last couple of episodes, about like what we want out of life and how the role that money plays in that, and the role that your views and your perspective on money and life, how that plays into the outcomes that you create for yourself.
Yeah. And being in an environment where you can ask questions. If someone's doing something cool, you can be like, well, how do you fund that? Yeah. Tell me all about it. Because it's been so helpful knowing you and a few other people who do similar stuff. And you can be like, what are you charging? All that kind of stuff has been really helpful too. Even
in like jobs, I mean, like the first thing I sort of had noted down to talk about is like the big money taboo, and like the collateral damage of that is, I mean, I talked about in another episode how I really like made some missteps in my early career. And I think in part it's because I didn't realize the disparity in what people earned. Like I think a lot of people will relate to this. I think if you grow up with, on the spectrum of, you know, maybe financial hardship or just, you know, financial survivor mode, really, like just struggling by not having an abundance of anything, I just genuinely didn't realize that unless you were a, you know, textbook rich person or a celebrity, I didn't really realize that there was such a vastness in what you could earn because people don't talk about it. Like, and rich people think that they're the same as poor people. So you think it's all the same unless you know the intricacies of it. And having more open conversations about the steps you take in your life to get to different points, and how, you know, it's wild to me that we pay quite similar amounts for different degrees, but the salaries that you can get from them are all quite different.
Yeah.
That's just crazy to me. I mean, I don't know quite what it's like in Australia, but like in the UK, uni is like a set amount per year. Like tuition fees are a set amount.
Ours varies, but there is like, it just depends where you pick. Like some things are really expensive and you can't earn much from them, but other things like nursing can be subsidized. Sometimes that's really cheap, but it depends so much.
Yeah.
But it's definitely not a correlation. If you pay more, you'll earn more. Definitely not.
No. And I don't think it's discussed that much at those levels where you're making those decisions. You need like that community of people around you.
Or to know what's possible. If you're like, I earn this now, my manager earns this, my manager's manager earns this, the big boss earns this, like what's the trajectory and do I want to stay here for that? Is it worth it?
Having the conversations, but also being open to, I guess, putting yourself out there to have those conversations and share like your struggles. And yeah. I think with the, like, being, you know, my book is called Good with Money. So, many people sort of conceal whether or not they feel like they're good with money, or they'll identify with being bad with money, and then therefore kind of avoid a lot of the conversations that could get them into different rooms or into different spaces. Or I guess there's 2 sides of it. There's the conversations and the connections that expand your perspective, and then there's the conversations and the connections that can actually get you
Yeah.
two places.
Or even just the practical skills, or like it being in the front of your mind. Like if you don't talk about something, it's hard to be like, this is a priority for me now. But even like you'll message me and be like, oh my God, my shares are going up. What do I do? Or they're going down. What do I do?
Yeah.
But that's like fun having those conversations because you don't forget about it. Or if I'm like, oh, I'm investing today. And then someone else might be like, oh, that's like a prompt for me to do it too because it's normalized.
Yeah, it's normalizing. And it's normalizing the bad stuff too. Yeah. Like I think people are very... broadly as a society, we conceal what's going on in our finances if things are bad.
Until they've gotten good. And then we reflect back and we're like, oh, that was a hard time. But we don't talk about it while it's happening.
Yeah, or why it happened or what we can do. And like, there's obviously so much like discourse online at the moment about the lack of community and like everybody wants a village, but nobody wants to be a villager. Yes. And I think that all kind of plays into it too, because a lot of the time when you do experience hardship, financial or otherwise, though there's usually a financial component to most hardships, community can help you through that as well, either through non-monetary support or emotional support or advice or...
or taking things off your plate so you can make better financial decisions.
Yeah, like even having experiences, if you've helped people through like financial hardship and stuff, like being able to be like, oh my God, I'm going to default on my mortgage, and having somebody that can actually tell you what to do, because if you can't say anything, you're just going to avoid it and avoid it and avoid it.
Yeah, because there's so many things you could have asked for that you didn't know about. Like, oh, that could have been an option. Like the ATO, I got a fine for paying my tax bills late a few years ago now. But someone I mentioned online or to me that I could just call and ask for it back. Oh. And then I called and they gave me a refund.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but if I hadn't heard that from someone else, I wouldn't have like even thought to do that. Because who thinks that you could just ask for a refund on your late fees?
That happened to me with a medical bill. Not to, when it came, I was like, is this the United States? Yes. Like, what the fuck is this? Like, obviously we pay for some healthcare here, but it's much more, we don't have like the smoke and mirrors broadly as much as we have in the US. And I got this bill. I'd been into like a day surgery thing. And I'd paid like the anaesthetist and this and this and this, and paid my insurance excess and got the money back. But then I got this other bill for something else that was given to me while I was there, like the iron infusion I'd had or something like that. Because I had a colonoscopy and then they did the iron infusion after. And there was something like that. And they gave me something extra, or like the polyp removal. I don't know, some like random component. They were like, hey, that's going to be another $150. And I was like,
why didn't you quote that beforehand?
But because I posted about it on social media, I can't remember what I even said. I didn't even ask a question. I was just like, oh my God, how annoying. Like, got this bloody bill. I'm still wrapping my head around healthcare in Australia. And someone was like, don't pay that. So I rang and said, I've got this bill. Like, I wasn't expecting this. And they were like, yeah, don't pay that. That's a mistake. And I was like, oh my God, I would have just paid it.
Yeah, because it's not a massive amount. It's not like 10 grand. No. And 150 might be a lot to some people, but it's one of those things where it's like, it's easy just to pay it instead of calling around and trying to deal with it and being on hold forever.
Or if you're like in a shame spiral because you didn't know you were going to get that. Or if you really can't afford it, that's probably when you're least likely to say anything.
Yeah.
Because you're going to be like, oh my God, another hit to my finances. I'm just going to ignore that for a while. And then you'll get a reminder and a warning. And then you'll be like, oh my God, just pay it.
Yeah.
Rather than having...
Or it goes to the debt collector and you've like left it too late or whatever it is.
Oh my God. Yeah.
So yes, talking about money is important. And it's just nice to be able to, like, we talk about so many other struggles in our life. I feel like we talk about if our partners are really shitty or whatever else is going on, 100%. We complain about it in the event. And it's nice to be like, oh, other people are struggling too. But we don't really sit down and be like, wow, it's really hard this month. I'm feeling like I'm not making enough money, or like I'm really stressed about money coming in next month, or this important bill is coming up or something like that.
And I feel like the taboo, like I guess the taboo exists to a degree, exists so that people that have more money and have less money aren't like confronted by that.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, I feel like the fact that we're not talking about the specificities, people build up so much resentment.
Yeah.
Because somebody that's got more financial capacity will be like, oh, they're really stingy. They won't, do X, Y, and Z, or they never want to do this, or they don't want to, contribute to the hen party fund or whatever. It could not be me.
Yeah.
But then on the other side, it's like people that we perceive to have more money, maybe because they're a lawyer that they're better paid than you or something. Then there's resentment that way.
But it could
and
be
we don't understand one another.
Yeah, maybe they're paying for their parents' bills or something and they're really stressed because their student loans are really big still and they've got a huge mortgage and they haven't reached like peak earning capacity yet. Yeah. They're still a paralegal or something. Yeah. You never know what someone's struggling with. No. You never know like what's going through their mind. And if you don't know to suggest a cheaper activity or like to not pressure them to put money in for a gift, it's easy to get mad at someone.
Yeah, the performative nature of money is really interesting.
How so?
I guess like the standards or the things that we expect ourselves to be able to do. I kind of loosely touch on this in my book. I think there's this unique kind of shame reserved for things that we think we're meant to be good at. So I think if you've got maybe friends that are all seemingly fine with money for whatever reason, maybe they genuinely are good with money, maybe their partner earns more than yours, maybe they have a partner, maybe you're single, maybe their parents have, maybe they're not. I don't know, there's this weird sort of, I think because money is, we're expected to be able to do it, even though statistically the majority of people aren't great at managing it. And I take all financial data with a grain of salt if it's self-reported, because nobody's ever going to be like, well, the majority of people either don't know how much they could improve with money, or they're not going to say it because there's so much shame.
The ones who could improve are too busy living life and trying to survive to fill out the survey for free.
That too. Yeah, we're also never capturing everybody. But it's this weird thing that you can't opt out of. And you're just supposed to be able to manage. And life throws so many curveballs at you that sometimes just money isn't there. But because of capitalist society, we're just expected to manage somehow.
Yeah.
And I don't know, when you look at how people handle financial adversity, like so often, it's kind of even like with the childcare thing. Like, what do you do when your job is till 5:30 and your kid finishes school at 3? Yeah. What's everybody doing? And it's literally just like everybody's got their own solution. They either work from home, or the grandparents do it, or they car share. Like it's one of those things where there is no solution.
Yeah.
But when it comes to money, we don't talk about it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Interesting.
That's like a weird...
I feel like we're talking about it a little bit more as a collective, like with the cost of living and house prices. I feel like
But I think it's just become oppression Olympics.
Yeah.
A lot of or not even oppression Olympics, more just we're talking about it when it's bad.
We're talking about it generally as well. We're not saying like, I'm really struggling. It's like, oh, the world is really hard at the moment, not like what's going on in my life.
Yeah.
Or we're talking about like rent increases, but not the rest of it.
I don't know. It's an odd one, but I think there's a lot to be... I think we have a long way to go.
And I think life
untangling the taboo
gets easier when you do start talking about money. And I
agree.
Have always spoken about money, so I can like acknowledge that like I don't know what it's like to never completely speak about it, but it's just been helpful in terms of like knowing what to charge, like talking to other people who run their own businesses, even just knowing what's possible and being like, wow, you can earn that much money doing that. Like that's insane. How do I do that too? If you don't talk about it, you won't know.
We're probably quite jaded, I think, because I think business owners talk about money a lot more than the average person.
Yeah.
I've realized this.
Yeah.
Probably because there's an element of separation. That it's like the business and not you.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Or maybe because you have to be, you can't not think about it. Like if you're at a job, you get paid and then like you can easily autopilot and not think about it, but you can't just not earn money for a while. Like you have to actively continue to earn money.
And you have to have you have to pay out money to make money.
Yes, and you have to do your BAS every 3 months. So you're like more onto it. You're not like, it's not a once a year tax return thing. I think you just have to be more involved. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, I noticed that coming to Australia, having to file a tax return, even if you're not a business owner. Yeah. Like that's like in the UK, I think there's even more avoidance.
Oh, interesting.
Which you don't, well, unless it's different now.
Maybe it's like because you take more accountability as a business owner. So you have to like,
well, you have to keep it running. You have to know if it's not viable or not.
You have to know if you can like afford to spend money or not. Yeah, but with a job, it's kind of like that false sense of security.
Yeah.
You're guaranteed a paycheck and you don't need to.
Which is why redundancy is like a slap in the face, because you're like, oh, I never realized I wouldn't have this money. Whereas as a business owner, you're like, I could have nothing tomorrow.
Yeah. And we've gone through that many times. You're like, oh no, when people pay invoices late or whatever it is.
Yeah, so true.
Yeah, trying to balance that.
Business is the greatest financial development exercise of all time. Personal development exercise of all time, sorry.
Definitely.
But we're going to be talking about business as well at the retreat, I think.
And side hustles and other things if you're interested.
Side hustles, yeah, both in terms of making extra money, but also maybe doing things that you want to do, or how having a side hustle can help you advance in your job, or go and do something of your own.
Or just make more money if you want to.
Or make more money alone in a financial sense.
Yeah, and if you don't have friends who are in business, it can be really hard to understand or like to even know what that world is like unless you have someone to ask questions to.
100%.
So you can ask us all the questions of all the mistakes we've made.
Oh my God, that could fill the whole 4 days. Fun. Yeah, it kind of makes me think of this sort of topic that I will touch on in the one of the workshops that we do on the retreat, but the topic of like your financial comfort zone and how it's created from your upbringing and your early sets of money beliefs. Like everybody's heard that stat by now that your money beliefs start to form by the age of 7, have formed by the age of 7, and then you just kind of feed into that like existing narrative with everything you experience. And I think that particularly in a talking about money sense, breaking that financial comfort zone is the best way. One of the best ways to do that is by talking about money with other people from different walks of life, because you can like forgive yourself for mistakes that you've made, or see where maybe like you were really in a shit position and it wasn't your fault.
Or get them to call you out. Like, actually, you probably could do that if you wanted to.
Yeah. And yeah, especially in like a present sense of taking control, like you can actually understand what's possible. Like you can't be what you can't see, that age-old thing.
And it's nice to have your friends be like, how's this thing going that you said you're going to do?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
It will be going soon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So many benefits to it. But I know it can be very stressful. And if you haven't done it before, it can feel very uncomfortable, but I think it's for the good.
Which I think is why it's really important to have spaces like the retreat or anything else that we may do where financial conversation is facilitated.
Yeah.
One, because it's facilitated. So
like our event. I can't, like, that would surprise me so much. We did like a finance friend speed dating afterwards, and people were chatting so much about money and other things that they didn't want to change people.
Yeah.
And we were like at the front being like, oh,
like move on,
enjoy.
move on. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think having those conversations facilitated, you know, the conversation starters that we're using have boundaries, you know, built in. So you're not left sharing more than you want to, or with somebody that's sharing more than making you comfortable. And also having an environment where everybody is showing up willing to do it.
Yes.
Because I think it can make the whole experience worse if you're met with somebody that's like really doesn't want to talk about it. Because then you're left feeling more confused. And you're like, oh my God,
I shouldn't have done that. Was that me?
Yeah. Maybe you reveal your hand and they didn't reveal theirs, and you're like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So definitely come to our retreat.
Definitely come.
I'm really excited. It'll be lots of fun. I love having these things where you get to chat to lots of different people, because I'm someone who loves to be like, what do you earn? Tell me about your life. And that's not always acceptable, and you don't have to tell me, but it's nice to be in those spaces where you can discuss it.
Yeah, you don't have to come to the retreat with your latest tax return.
No. But if you want to tell me.
If you want to be open.
Especially if you have a job that's not like doctor, teacher, nurse. I love to be like, oh wow, that's what you can earn in that career. That's incredible. So cool.
Well, it's funny when you talk to people whose job, like teachers, and they're like, I can't imagine not knowing what my colleagues earn. Because our job salaries are posted online.
They're the same.
Because we know what band we are.
Yeah.
Or whatever they call it. Level.
What level, yeah.
Yeah.
But
like,
healthcare's like that.
I know.
People pay generally the same. Like OT is a bit different, but like support workers, you might go up if you've been there for 3 years, but you're all like, because actually we were comparing pay slips, being like, did they pay us wrong again? But that was more of like is the company being mean to us?
And also negotiation, I guess, is less required because you can't be like, longer. I'm actually a level 7. Yeah. So we're like, no, you're not. We level you based on how long you've been here. Yeah.
And whether you have a degree or not. You get like $5 a fortnight more or something.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
$5. Woo. Yeah, interesting. Anyway, can't wait to hear everyone's experiences at the retreat. I think we're going to have a nice diverse group of experiences to talk through.
I'm very excited.
Yeah. Definitely come. Details are in the show notes, and we hope that we'll see you there.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Thanks so much for joining us. If you found this episode helpful, please rate us 5 stars, write a review, or share with a friend. If you're new to investing, make sure to listen to our first 10 episodes. Follow us at Get Rich Slow Club or Tash at Tash Invest, or me at Ana Christina.
This show was brought to you by Natasha Etchman, who is an authorized representative 1299881 of Guideway Financial Services, AFSL 420367, and Perla, who is an authorized representative 1281540 of Sanlam Private Wealth, AFSL 337927. Knowledge is power, especially when it comes to investing. So make sure you check out our financial services guides and read the product disclosure statement and target market determination for any investments you're considering. See our show notes for more info.